Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a brown plate.
All right. You all, how many know how to fill it out and how to review one that a new member hands you? All right, there's some things that I really want to cover that are just very specific to the application that you may not know. Number one is obviously the club name and information and their information. If you haven't already figured it out, it must be really legible, especially the cell phone number and the email. I can't tell you, even though I ask for that because I'm treasurer and membership from the new member, I still make 2 or 3 calls out of 10 to get a clear explanation of what is written. And that's a pain, because that means I'm not getting them in a timely basis, because you never know when somebody's going to get back to you. So I try and ask as many questions as I can when I receive this. So for instance, when they tell me that they used to be a member, this is really important, isn't it? Because that means they don't have to pay the $20. Doesn't matter whether it was 10 years ago or 6 months ago. They won't have to pay the $10. One of the things I suggest always is when they tell you that they have been a Toastmaster in the past, number one, just handwrite this stuff in wherever there's white space, what the name of their club was.
Right there.
No. I think we're add information on here, and actually it helps to know what town the club was in. And it doesn't matter about the club number. But the other thing that's most important is ask that new member, what their email was when they belonged to that club. Because otherwise you won't be able to pull up their information, and you'll have to call TI. Now, this is really interesting, and I haven't gotten back to the new member yet because it's just happened. He said he was in a club in South Carolina, or no, Florida, and this was the name of the club, and this was his email when he was a member before. Because, you know, when you type in the last name and the email, and it'll pop up whatever the system shows. If you don't have the right email, it won't pop up anything. It didn't pop up with the old email. So I called TI and said, can you look this up and tell me, is this the same person? And this is the address, this is where the club was, this is the name of the club, and this is the old email, because I couldn't get it to pop up. And they said, well, we can't either. And so she tried both the old email and the new email, didn't pop up either way. And then I said, well, can you look up the name, you know, system-wide? She looked it up, and it's not in the entire system. We don't know who this member is. It's clear that he was a Toastmaster. He knew how to do timer. You know, he had, even though he said it had been 10 years at least, you know, he had some connection to it. So I haven't had a chance to sit down with him. I went ahead and submitted his application, but I had to charge him the $20, and he didn't, you know, his check didn't include that $20 because of what I accepted at the beginning. So 10% of my new members are prior clubs, and so I've learned to be very careful. If you actually download from TI, though, I want you to make a change to your master. And that is if you'll go to the 3rd page, which is for financial information, right?
Payment?
Yes, for payment. And you know that once you have submitted a member's membership, that you shred this piece of paper if there's any information on it.
Right.
Okay. To make it easy, because one of the things I always forget is the CVV. So I've typed it in on master.
Oh, nice.
Okay? So on your master, you're going to have to do the same, or ask me to email you this one. Okay? I see you frowning. Why are you frowning? What's the CVV? Is that why you're frowning?
No, you said you shred these?
The 3rd page.
3rd page.
Because this is where you mark, where they will write their credit card. If you're just writing their check number, which I do, I keep it. Depending upon what your process is, you will probably want to write down the CVV. Here's something else that I find interesting. I saw it in one club, and so I started doing it in my home club. And that was, I was at a guest at a meeting, and they got this person's application and money. I don't know if it was I think it was at this meeting, but it could have been the last meeting. They asked her, once we voted her in, and everybody votes in the new members?
We do.
Okay, everybody does. Okay. And we do that so that in your case, you can ask that person to leave without any, without any trouble. That's the whole point. You think it's never going to happen, but they show you your best face, their best face. You don't know what's down the path. Yes?
There's a lot of debate about voting person in versus when they become a member, and the voting in makes sense after but not before.
And then we also use it to reinforce what Toastmasters is, because we ask every new member to stand at the lectern and read the Toastmasters promise. And it very clearly here says what I like about it is, what is something that I would assume most clubs have trouble doing. It is to prepare for and fulfill meeting requirements. Prepare. Give me a percentage of how many members in your club prepare for whatever they're doing. And I mean prepare. Maybe our 3 newer members, being under 6 months, are still practicing and writing, and especially on speeches and stuff. But anybody over a couple of years, I find that we're writing our speech as we drive to the meeting. Does that help you as a Toastmaster? No, not really. We think in the back of our mind, oh boy, the more impromptu I do, the better I'm going to get at speaking. And that is absolutely a lie. You're kidding yourself. Because if you're unstructured, if you're not practicing a certain point that you wrote into your speech, excuse me, now I'm spitting, and I promise not to spit.
I did mention that.
Yes. Yeah. When I get excited, that's how I am. It's important to do the homework, or we're not getting our money's worth. And we're going to be talking about our members getting their money's worth once we get to the next section. Got that? Now, these things, we're covering the same things, but I can't guarantee that the person up here training for all 7 workshops are going to say the same thing about getting your money's worth, about preparation. But this reinforces. So if you're not having them say it out loud, it is one little niche. No, one little notch. That's the word I want. To help them, it is part of a process. So I suggest that you include that, and we always make time for that.
Yeah, so
You can set up a PayPal account that goes to your club's account, and it is. I find PayPal to be the easiest to process. For myself personally and as treasurer, I like it because there's no fee if you connect your PayPal account to your own account, bank account. No fee at all. Okay, does that answer your question? Okay, very good. There's also Venmo. Lots of people like Venmo. Lots of people like, what's the other one? Square. I have trouble with Square. So thank goodness I know Cersei. All right. Any questions on the application? Okay, fantastic. We now are going to talk about the 2 major things as officers that we need to know. And I'm on. Okay. So here's our homepage. Do you see Find a Club? That's for our guests who want to find a location. It's great that they have a map. We're going to talk about the location that you set up in Club Central. Click on Leadership Central. Everybody got that? And you see over on your left it says Club Central?
Yes.
Click on that. Okay. This is how we perform our business as a club. And there are sections for almost every officer, except for Sergeant at Arms maybe, but we would want our Sergeant at Arms to be available. Aware of what's happening. See if you can't use your Sergeant at Arms as a backup for somebody when they go on vacation. Or just have a quick 5-minute lesson in a board meeting. So click on your club. And what you see here are a series of what we call tiles, these squares. Add membership, theoretically, and it should be actually, belongs to which office?
Treasurer.
Everybody agree? I heard a second comment. Treasurer, is that correct? Okay. Or whoever is subbing for treasurer. But generally this belongs to the treasurer. Now, when I ask this question, lots of people say, oh, you know, president or PR, because you're putting in a new member. But that's not right, because there should only be one person with access to the debit card or credit card for the club in order to submit, except as a backup. Okay. Then, this is 2 different steps, and it gets a little confusing, because under the old ways, if you're a veteran, you might be confused, but if you're not, then it's a piece of cake. Add membership, that's the information. Then you have to click on Submit Payment in order to actually transact the money. Okay? So those are both treasurer. Submit Education Awards, who's that? Should be, correct. And that's where you submit all of the education awards. And who's in charge of the club roster? Who actually submits information for the club roster? How do you get a name onto the roster?
Add membership. That's how it gets to the.
That's right. So you can't go to the roster and type in a name, can you?
Yeah.
But I do want to go to roster, so if you would please click on roster. Okay, so this lists all the information that this treasurer has submitted. It goes directly to roster. You cannot.
Bypass.
That's correct. That's the exact word I was looking at. If you will go to the very bottom of this page, and it says total members in club, total paid members in club. That you see at the bottom of your page, total paid members in club and total unpaid members in club. Those unpaid members generally stay for 2 months after the due date, but they aren't included in your paid members.
Is there a way to access previous members?
No, there is not. And that is the one thing that we have no access to. TI can look it up on wherever they store it if you have a question about somebody. But thank you, because this leads me to one more thing. The number of members that shows when we get to the DCP, it's going to say, it'll say 22. Okay, that's not what I want to tell you. When you go down to DCP and find out how many new members you have, or how many for the year, let's say it's 8. If you had 2 people join in October and now they're gone, they're still included, but you don't know who they are unless you have your own paperwork. Does that make sense? We'll talk about that in a minute. Think about it. So what's important about this is the information that's listed for every member. Do you see the edit on the right-hand side? So any officer can update anything, email address, etc. When we're done with this, we're going to show you how to fix a couple things in your profile. But the one thing that nobody can change on this page is the name. Let's say the treasurer submitted a misspelling on the name, and it has to be right. But you can't change it here because Toastmaster won't allow access to anybody but the person themselves. And that's exactly true. Or go to the top, the other trigger can be, see where it says export Excel CSV? You can print this just by going print on the right-hand side. But then it's going to give you 4 pages of tiles. If you export Excel, it drops down as a
Worksheet.
a download, yes. And then you open it up and you manipulate it to show the information you want. You don't need the membership number. You don't need the home number. You don't need the state or the town. You know, get it down so that you can get it on one page and make that your roster. Because you can delete any column you want. But the far right-hand column is enrolled in pathways, and it'll say yes or no. So that's another way to confirm it, and to be able to print it and see it, a week from now when you can't remember who's not enrolled. Because yes, you're right, we want to enroll ASAP, but the best way to do that is part of a new member orientation. So it doesn't happen. There's nothing to trigger that when you're submitting an application. Okay? The new member has to do it themselves. All right. It is important for all your members, I want to go scroll up the screen. It is important for all your officers to know the paid number of members in your club, and this is how you find out. Okay? I'm going to show you now how to edit a new member's name. So go back to the top, and do you see the welcome, Marcia, or whatever your name is? You want to click on your name. And this is going to take you straight to your personal profile. See it? The one that you really want to be aware of, and this is all we're going to talk about here, but there's so much stuff on this. I have, because I've been a member for 28 years, every single education project that I have completed since 2003, because that's when they went digital, is listed under education achievements, and it's like 50 pages. But all we're going to talk about is edit contact information and privacy. So this is edit contact info, so this is where you personally would change the spelling of your name. You can also change your email and do it yourself instead of asking somebody else to do it. Okay, but you are the only one who can access this. TI can as well, but they are not authorized to make any changes. So click on edit content and privacy. All right, do you see up here at the top? Okay, this is where you change your email, your name, blah, 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 new password. This is one way to do it. But see the tab at the top, My Privacy and Consents? Click on that. These are all the normal opt-ins that you get the first time you open up your Toastmasters account, the first time you sign in. You can leave them all yes, and I'll tell you, you get very little contact from TI. There's nothing to be afraid of. But there is one issue. Scroll to the bottom. Do you see where it says your name on public records? Oh my God, if you say yes, it'll get printed in the LA Times. Not. Okay, this does not mean that it's for the whole world. What we want is the ability to see your name on the education list. You just submitted 2 levels. It's going to say name unavailable if you have this marked no. So if you all are not on yes, please, I can't make you do it, but please say yes. Because by public records, it means TI's public records. Because all officers can see this list. Oh.
You must understand.
I didn't know that.
Public list. Anyone Googling your name might see your name listed in association with Toastmasters. But it does not give away your address, and it does not give away your phone number. It just has
Thank you, I didn't know that.
associated with Toastmasters.
Okay, and I'm going to show you why this is really the most immediate effect if you mark no on this. Actually hit the arrow back, and that takes you back to the club roster. Okay? Hit the arrow back again because we're done with the roster. And I'm going to ask you, not now, the things that you should look at and be familiar with are the club demographics. Everybody see it? And the club contact and meeting information. Now, the club contact information is what controls who gets the inquiry from the Toastmaster homepage. Generally, we think of it as being the PR person. But if you don't have a free Toast website and are not set up to really direct through Free Toast who gets those approvals from TI, right now, the approval TI is determined by whoever's name is on the club contact. So you may want to actually go in there and change it to your VPE, or the real person that should be is, this is an external contact, so it should be PR. But you must tell them that they must forward any, approval letter they get for pathways to your VPE.
This is where Marcia, this is where we see that, where do we see that we have to change it?
Okay, click on club contact and meeting information. Okay, so it says contact phone, contact email. That's where it goes. This is where find a club contact goes, but this is also, if you aren't set up in Free Toast to forward it to your
Secretary.
yes, or VPE. What? Oh, okay. I'm not talking fast enough. All right, so let's get through the important stuff. Really, the thing I was most important to me was the public record thing. But, so this is where that information is. So hit arrow back. Do we have a, oh, we do have a plug. All right, so now you have a tile marked distinguish something. Arrow back, and it's on the right-hand side in the middle. It says Distinguished Performance Report. Everybody see it? Okay, click on that. Because there's two incredibly important things that I want to talk about that I promise you will blow your mind. All right, so this takes you to your club's DCP, right? And let's just talk for a second what the membership square means. What does that mean? Oh, wow. This is, let's hope it comes up quickly. So your information will not be up to date if the date's not right. A day or two lag is fine, because you never know how applications go, but it should be within 24 hours is the deal. That square on membership, the left number says, what's it called?
New member.
Here, membership
Thank
base.
you.
You're talking about that?
Yes, the base. Do you know where that number comes from?
Last year.
The membership that's listed on July 1st. Everybody got that? This has nothing to do, that one number has nothing to do with the applications you've already submitted this year.
Right.
The one on the right does, and that's called
To date.
to date. This is how many members you have submitted. And mine should say, when we get it back up, if I change the date right,
It'll be 22.
it'll be 22. That reflects what you're currently at. And what does the one below that say?
Required.
Required, and in your case it is
20.
They say you have to have 20 members, or if your base is below 20, it's the base plus a net 5. So you may not have to have 20. If your base is only 13, add 5 to that, net 5, that's 18, so your requirement is 18. Okay? And that number is not on January 1st, that number is not on March 1st, not on April 1st. It is the number that you have in that box on June 30th. Okay? Right.
What happened if you don't meet that?
Then this little box is a qualifier. You could have 10 points on DCP and not get credit if you don't meet that base. That's why number one, membership is key to your club getting DCP, getting distinguished. Okay?
But the required number that required the bottom, whatever required, that's the number.
That is your qualifier, correct. Either 18 or 20, whatever it tells you. Okay. Well, at least I've got power. So, you understand that there are 12 right now educational opportunities to achieve points. You only need 6 points, okay? And then all the other points below that, which have been standard forever, they're going to continue to be standard. What's going to change July 1st? on educational. What?
No more manuals.
No more legacy program. Yes, only pathways. Okay? You need to find out, or suggest to your president to find out how many people are still working on hard copy manuals, because they must be complete by June 30th. They could have 7 done, and they still need 3 more. All that, they don't get credit for any of those 7 on July 1st. Okay? Okay. But there's one report on the DCP. Actually, I keep thinking you guys don't have it up. Over on the left-hand side in the middle, do you see daily reports on the left column? Close? Somewhere there.
Daily report.
Okay. Yes. Are you good?
You're on video when you go back there. Just tell
Oh, thank you. So, have you found the daily reports on the left-hand side? Okay, click on that. And then this is something else that I would hope that you would schedule a half an hour to run through so you can see what kind of information is there. And what I want you to specifically pick is educational achievements, current. It's on the middle of the left-hand side. And I want you to sort the name column now. Click on it once. Click on it one more time so that it sorts one more time. Have you sorted it so that the A's are at the top, basically? And it says, actually, name unavailable. Do you see that? Oh, what happened to your...
It's hers.
Oh, not working?
She couldn't get in because she doesn't have.
Okay.
Set up.
This will be up in a second. So, when you're looking at that list, if it says name unavailable, do you know what caused that?
Privacy.
The privacy. Correct. Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Marco, you got it?
Yes.
Great. And I know you guys got it, right? All right. So the only way to fix that is by going back in and changing the privacy. But you can't do it. You have to ask your members to do it. And how do you know who to ask? Well, isn't there a number? There is a number to the left of name unavailable. That's their member number. So you can write that number down and go back to your roster and find out who it is. All right. I want you guys to see it. Now, what is this? Why are we going to the number of educational things at all? Well, I don't know what the current number is, but the last time Cersei and I looked at it, it was a total, including name unavailable, about 192. That means 192 people have submitted a level or a CC or a DTM. Understand? Do you have any idea how many members are in District 52?
2347. Actually, there's more than that because we just targeted a new club.
There we go.
2 new clubs.
Okay.
So it's probably 2,380 people.
Almost 2,400 members in District 52. We've got about 107 clubs, 2,500 members. And what did I say the total of the educations is right now? 192. That's...
It's actually 165.
165, okay. That's 7%.
So is it, they're not doing it, or the two-step process is breaking down?
Correct. But what you want to make sure is that you take care of both. But what it probably means, because of the overwhelming percentages, is that 2380 minus 160 is, you know, it's over 2,000 people. No, it's 1,800 people who haven't done anything, or not enough to be able to submit something. Why are we in Toastmasters? What it also means, if you look deeper on these numbers, here we go. Would you click?
I'm trying.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got some name unavailables, but if you sort it by club, and these are sorted by club, so let's look at Glendale 1. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people have submitted, all in August, July, August, and no, just in July and August. And what does that mean? They're probably left over from last year. Okay? So that means nothing since last year has really been completed to be submitted. And what that means is, here's the other thing. Where's the name? Well, we don't know. These could be 5 different people, but as you go down, you will see that there are probably only, I think it's 132 unique individuals. What that means is that I've submitted 5. Your job is to retain these members. If they aren't doing their speeches, uh-oh.
What's that mean?
So, what is so important about this is that our members are not getting their money's worth. They're paying money, but they haven't done at least 5 speeches to turn in a level 1. And it is twice as easy to get an accomplishment, an achievement that, with Pathways than it was on CC, because you couldn't get a recognition, an achievement on with a CC unless you did 10 speeches. Now you only have to do 5. Why aren't we having a double amount? Now we are ahead of last year's total, chronologically. We're 1/3 of the year way through on 165 versus the 400 that they achieved last year. For the whole year, 400 achievements out of 2,300 members. Does that not blow your mind? Why? Is there anybody who cares if I? Oh no, I'm being filmed, so I can't swear. Sorry. Why aren't they doing it? Because we aren't pushing them, we aren't encouraging them, we aren't supporting them.
I think it's inspiration is the word.
Yeah.
And inspire them.
Yeah.
Need to push.
Whatever method works, I think every club has its own personality. Maybe we don't talk about it enough. Maybe we don't give attaboys to show the recognition when they do get it done, to inspire someone to do that. Yes, Marco?
There are 243 in this report. Right?
We looked before this one.
Oh.
So that means we're submitting. That's good. 243 out of 2,300.
Okay.
That's barely 10%. Look at, what's important is to sort by your club, find out how many submissions you have, how many people submitted those 5. Did 5 people submit them, or did 2 submit all of those? That means you're only serving 2 of your members instead of 5. Right?
Yep.
And we need to be measured, I think, by this. Our clubs need to be measured by how many submissions for education that they turn in. This is so important. So I hope that we'll be communicating with our area directors throughout the year with where we stand on this, and then you turn around and take that to your clubs. Okay? And find out why. Why are they not doing this? This is the number one thing that we can measure whether there's really a true healthy club, or is it 1 or 2 people in the entire club keeping the club healthy? And I don't like that, and you shouldn't either. I'm going to ask every single one of you at the next board meeting to bring this up and review it with everybody, because everybody's got to know. Okay? Great. I am done, but raise your right hand. I hereby promise that I will look at the daily reports on Club Central and review them.
I review them.
Thank you. You need to know. Club standards. And this is a foreign object for us, and we're going to start talking about it from now on. So I want you to close this window, because it's a standalone window. So is the next one. And then go back. Oh, no. Now we're on TI. All you need to do now is go to search and type in master your meetings. This has been a manual available. There it is. It's called, I don't know. Where are my glasses? I can't read it. Did it take me there? Yes, Master Your Meetings. Click that open. And it's 36 pages of stuff, but this is the source of everything that we do in Toastmasters, how the actual meeting runs. Have you ever heard of this manual? You have, good. I remember it from 20 years ago. I even have an old copy. I can't find it. Now, of course, just like everything else, they don't print this anymore. So you have to get your information from going here online. But you can download it for free, save it to your desktop or wherever you're doing it.
You're sending it out in the charter kits, though, so that our brand-new club will have a copy of it.
That's good. And that really leads me into my next statement. How does a club that's brand new chartered know what to do? How do they know? Okay, fine, they've got 3 people that are current Toastmaster members, but they may not know how to go around this. So what I've given you is a list. I've given you 3 pages about club standards. And I want, especially the number 1 is really what we're going to talk about first. And you see it looks like this with the lines? Okay. And the first section is, what does TI require? And they require and expect only 3 things. These are kind of the law. You know, when anybody asks me about anything on TI, I always make sure that I say these are guidelines, not the law. Because what I find out is when secretaries go to training, they come back and say, wait, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. And you have to say it's a guideline. You want to go with club culture and whatever happens in your club. You don't have to change it just because it's written. But these 3 things are a requirement, and I don't think there's anybody who doesn't do this. So it's prepared speeches, written or spoken evaluations, and table topics. Does everybody have that on their agenda?
Yes.
All the time.
Okay, every meeting. That's great. And then it's the following list are things that they suggest, such as meeting begins and ends on time, all meeting participants arrive on time and are prepared. Again, prepared. This is not a pull it out of your you-know-what and stand up and do your speaking. You must know what you've signed up for and you're ready for it. For instance, how many times has the grammarian club come to your club without a word, if you use that? Read all of these things. Now, there are things that are never going to appear on this list that your club and maybe only your club does. My example is a couple of my meetings are only an hour long, so the time is really of the essence. So we post signs on the wall that says wait in the wings. That means if you know you're about to be called up to talk about general evaluator, well then by God you better be up there by the lectern waiting, so that we don't have to wait for you to pull out of your chair and walk down, get up front and finally do your stuff. If everybody did that, we would likely have time for 1 or 2 more table topics. So what do you want? Do you want more stuff for your money, or do you want to have everybody applaud for you for an extra minute? So that is a good example of a club standard. Not the sign itself, but that we are encouraging useful use of our time. Somebody name a club standard in your club that isn't probably in the book anywhere.
Pledge of Allegiance.
That's in the book. That's an option. It's not required. And as you'll see on page 2 that I gave you, it talks about invocation and pledges. Those aren't required. That's actually a club standard. The club has decided to do that. The clubs also should decide, if you haven't already figured this out, that it really ought to be not an invocation, but a thought of the day. Because an invocation implies religion. And my clubs have a standard that we don't do religion, politics, or generally sex.
We have a joke master.
Some clubs do, some don't. A couple of my clubs do. That's a good club standard, because that's another speaking role if you use it as a speaking role. And this is one of my bugaboos. If you're just going to take your phone and read the thing that you scrolled, when you got there because you weren't prepared, that's not right. But a good speaking opportunity for the joke master is to have memorized it, to learn it, stand up with no paper, no phone. Again, I consider that part of preparation. We help our brand new members by, okay, write it out. If you need to refer that during your icebreaker, okay. But let's move to key ideas for the next speech, and then less key ideas, outline first and then key ideas, and then nothing after 4 or 5 or 6 speeches. That's what a true speaker does. Not cheating because they haven't prepared. And if you get the new members to do it from the get-go, that changes your culture. See, trying to change Eric after all these years, impossible. Or somebody who has a really big ego and doesn't think he needs to be prepared because he's so good. But that causes him, because he doesn't know how long his open is. He doesn't know how long his body is. He doesn't know how long his close is. So he goes over every time. What happens when he's 3 minutes over? That cuts off the bottom half of the agenda. When asked, he says, yeah, but what I say is really important. Okay, so that's why club standards and preparation are incredibly important, and now is the time to change your club culture, because that one thing will have the biggest impact on your success as a club, and it gets them more engaged. And I think when we see that our new crop of people coming in are meeting those standards, it's going to make the rest of us old people think twice.